arcade controls, and arcade graphics that let you have the arcade experience at home, because your vision is our vision. Colecovision. You are the player, because your vision is our vision. The player.
Sorry. I play on Colecovision.
You are the player.
Well, hello everyone. This is Willie here, one of your hosts from the Colecovisions podcast. I'm here to talk about a new project I learned about called the Console Living Room that's over on archive.org. Now I have an interview here with a Mr. John Vilk, who's a volunteer for this program, and he's going to discuss what the program entails, what it involves, and what you can do to try to help out with this project. Now what's really neat about this project is one of the consoles that they're collecting the ROMs for is, of course, the ColecoVision. Right now they have 56 ROMs available where you can click on a ROM name, learn about the game, when it was released, how many kilobytes the cartridge was. They have scans of the game manuals you can access, and plus you can actually click on the game ROM and play it in a pop-up window on your browser. How cool is that? Right now it doesn't have sound, but some of the games are playable. So let's take a listen to this great interview I had with Mr. John Vilk.
Hello.
Well, hello.
How are you doing today?
Oh, not too bad. How's your day been going so far?
Pretty good. I actually just started it about an hour ago, so I'd say it's a pretty good start.
Did you have a good Christmas?
I sure did. Yep. Nothing too game related for Christmas, but it was pretty good.
Oh, that's awesome. So, the reason for calling you is to talk about this project you're involved with on archive.org.
Mm-hmm.
And could you just briefly describe what the name of the project is?
Sure. The name of the project is the Console Living Room, and the idea behind the project is that you'll be able to go to a webpage, archive.org, and go and click on one of these old retro systems, and then click on a game, and then be able to play it immediately from the comfort of your computer or whatever you're using, and that you'll be able to use, a gamepad and things like that.
Oh, that's awesome. So will it be able to auto-detect the gamepad, or is it something you have to set up beforehand?
Actually, there's already code for the gamepad detection and usage, because current browsers actually have support for USB gamepads. But
Oh.
I'm actually not sure if that code is live on the archive.org version. It's certainly live on the JSMESS.txtfiles.com version, which has a little blurb at the bottom of the emulator window that says, no USB gamepads detected, or one detected, or something like that.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
So, did you partner up with JSMESS for this project, or?
Yes, I've actually been involved with JSMESS for about a year now, and we've been constantly working on improving the number of emulators that we support, improving the speed, and working with both browsers and the tools that we use to get this emulator working in the browser to improve them for our use case.
Oh, okay. And about how many consoles you have already working?
Ooh, that is a good question. There's tens of consoles. I don't have a list right now. It's mainly so I don't know if do you know the approach that we're currently using to get these working in the browser?
No, I don't.
Okay. So have you heard of MESS, the multi-emulator super system?
Yes.
Okay. So what we're doing is we're taking the MESS source code, which is in C and C++, and we're compiling it to JavaScript. So theoretically, any console that works in MESS will work in JSMESS. The question is, will it be fast enough?
Oh, okay.
Yes. So right now we're targeting some of these older systems because their requirements are low enough to work with JSMS, because we have a long way to go in terms of speed. I mean, already just emulating, consoles such as the Atari 800 is very taxing on a modern processor, because in the compilation process there's some inefficiencies that we're currently working on improving. So with regards to the number of consoles we have working that are actually fast enough, there's probably at least 20. There's quite a few, and it's getting better all the time.
Hmm. Well, I did notice when I go to the website on archive.org for the console living room, that
Mm-hmm.
you have like 5 consoles listed there right now. You have the Atari 2600,
Mm-hmm.
the Atari 1700,
Yep.
the ColecoVision,
Mm-hmm.
the Magnavox Odyssey 2, and a Bally Astrocade.
Yep. And the 5200 is coming soon.
Oh, that's going to be kind of interesting with that analog control on that.
Yes, indeed.
It'll be interesting to see how that works out.
Mm-hmm.
Of the systems that you've already got posted on archive.org, which one was the most difficult for you to try to get to work?
Uh, I'd say the Atari 2600 is actually, strangely enough, one of our most difficult challenges because it's actually difficult to emulate. I'm not sure exactly why, but apparently due to all the quirks involved, and the fact that you have to emulate all of the hardware bugs and quirks makes it very difficult to get that working properly. And so as a result, for a long time, it would run at about 10% speed, which is unusable. And it took us a while to get that working fast enough to put it on archive.org.
Hmm,
Mm-hmm.
okay. How far back do you plan on going with the consoles? I see the Atari 2600 is the earliest one you have so far.
I'd say as far back as we can. I mean, the goal is to put as many as we can get working on archive.org. I mean, MESS has emulators for like the PDP-11 and just all these very old computer systems, and ideally would like to get those up there at some point too.
How hard has it been for you to try to find game ROMs to archive?
That's actually the easiest part.
Oh,
So people have been collecting game ROMs for many years now, and there are very mature collections out there of game ROMs that we can pick from. So that's actually probably one of the easiest parts. We just find a collection that's mature enough, and Jason can inject it all into archive.org.
okay. I have noticed that when you do go onto this website and you click on the game, it has a real nice screen that talks about the game. Some of them
Mm-hmm.
actually have manuals you can click on and view online.
Yep.
And I guess you click on a little icon underneath the game itself to run it in a browser.
Yep.
That's kind of nice. That's a nice setup.
Yeah, we've been working very hard on these descriptions. Right now, we're actually trying to put as many descriptions as we can up there. We're a little short-handed in terms of volunteers. So I've written, I think I put all the descriptions up for the Odyssey 2. I've done a number of ones for the Atari 2600, and I wrote some like helper programs to help me link the manuals to the game. So if you see a game link in there to a manual, um, that's probably something that I've done. Yep.
So if someone wants to try to volunteer to help out with this project, what's the best way to get in contact with the project?
Well, we have an IRC channel on FNet. So if you join FNet and you join the living room channel, you can talk in there, and we can get you set up with how to volunteer and help us with these descriptions, which is currently the hardest part because those have to be done by humans,
Hmm.
whereas associating manuals with games and things like that can be mostly automated.
How far forward in the systems are you going to go with the archive?
Probably as far forward as we legally can. I'm actually not sure what the grand plan is in terms of where Jason plans to stop. He ultimately calls all the shots because he's the only one who is officially associated with archive.org and the Internet Archive.
Okay.
So, I mean, hopefully, in terms of the JSMESS project, we're going to go as far forward as works. So, if we can get newer systems working at full speed, we'll release those emulators and people can do with them what they want.
So do you spend quite a bit of time doing testing before you actually post them to the archive.org?
Testing what, the games or the
The
emulators?
emulators for the different consoles.
Yeah, currently all of the ones that are up there, we tested to make sure that there were no obvious issues. But for the most part, if we can get it displaying a game, we know that it'll work as well for the most part as it does in MESS. So we have someone who is involved with the MESS project on board who knows all of the shortcomings of the various systems,
Oh,
and so he'll tell us, oh, this system right now has this bug in it and things like that. So we can use him to guide which emulators are best to approach next because they're the most mature in the MESS project.
oh, okay. Uh, did you have any of these old consoles when you were younger?
I actually, yeah, I had the Atari 800. My parents had that console. I'm rather young, so
Hmm.
I didn't grow up in the time period that these consoles existed, but I have retroactively collected them. I currently have like two Atari 2600s. I have a 5200. I have my parents' 800, and I'm hoping to get a ColecoVision at some point. It's on my to-do list.
Oh yes, you must get a ColecoVision.
I actually already have the attachment that allows you to play Atari VCS games on it, but I don't have the system itself, oddly enough.
You got part of it.
Yep, halfway there.
Yeah, the ColecoVision was ahead of its time back then. It is one of the better retro systems to actually collect for. It's really good.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So I've heard, and so I've seen.
So on your Atari 2600, what is your favorite game on that system?
Actually, I love the Journey game for that system because it just
Uh,
has the worst renditions of Journey songs. Right when you turn it on, it's just you want to turn it off immediately. I actually own that game in cartridge form, and it's just hilarious to boot it up and show friends because it's just so embarrassing for the band.
It's like, what were they thinking?
Exactly. Yeah,
Crazy.
it's really bizarre, and you have to like avoid groupies, which are represented as like lips with legs. It's really weird.
About how many games have you collected so far for your 2600?
I don't know. I haven't. I actually one of my projects I want to do over the next week, if I can, is to start cataloging them because I don't know. I have at least probably 30 games for it. It's very easy to pick up new games for it. You go to like a Goodwill or something, and people are selling them in bulk. So I actually need to count.
Oh,
Yep.
yeah, that's the best place to try to find these retro games is usually at flea markets and yard sales and garage sales. You can,
Goodwill actually also has a shopping an auction site that some of the Goodwills participate in. It's like shopgoodwill.com, and that's a great place to find a lot of good deals.
yes, it is. That is a good place to find some good deals for this retro equipment.
hmm
So you have anything else that you can talk about on this project that you're involved with? Any more information?
I guess I can talk about more about like what the future plans are in the short term in terms of what we're trying to accomplish now. So now that we have a number of emulators working properly on the Internet Archive, we're trying really hard to get sound working properly. Right now, the web browsers have these audio APIs that are somewhat fickle and they're hard to work with. And so either you get really good sound in one browser and terrible in another, or it's just terrible all around. Um, so we're hoping to improve that and make it so that we can launch emulators with sound on archive.org. We actually have versions with sound on the textfiles.com webpage, but because of the issues I just described, in like Chrome, for example, some of
Mhm.
them sound like dying cats, and you don't want that. So we're hoping to get that working, and we're also hoping to look into some of the speed bottlenecks because right now the systems are about 10 times or more slower than they run natively on your computer if you're using MESS. So we're hoping to look into some of the speed bottlenecks there to get it faster, and then once they're faster, maybe one of these days we'll get it working well enough to have like mobile versions because
Oh,
there are mobile web browsers and they're getting faster. So
yes.
who knows if we'll get it efficient enough to run on like an Android device or something, or an iPhone or whatever has a web browser.
Oh, yeah, that would be really awesome.
It would be awesome, and it's possible, but only if we get it fast enough and if we get memory usage down because we use a lot more memory than we need to.
Since you did not grow up with these games, when you first played them, what were your initial reactions to some of these, like the Atari 2600 games you played for the first time?
I thought it was really cool. I really liked the way that they had to approach the obstacles they encountered with trying to get a game on this sort of primitive computing device. So they had to be very symbolic with certain things. You actually had to read the manual to figure out what is that blob thing on screen, and what do I do with it? And so, the manuals in this generation of games are extremely important because without them, you'll press start in the game and you'll have no idea what you're doing. So that aspect of it really has been really interesting for me to look into.
Oh, that's awesome. Now, one system I noticed that you don't have listed yet and I'm curious about is the Intellivision system.
Yes. I'm not sure what the status of the Intellivision is right now in terms of JSMESS. I know that we do have. I'm not sure if we. Let me see if we have a version up right now on the text files site. Yeah, we have it listed, but I don't know what the status is. There is probably a reason why it hasn't launched. It's definitely on our radar for a future update, but I can't say at the moment if it's because it's too slow or if it's just because it wasn't one of the first systems that Jason wanted to roll out. Because we're waiting to launch more systems once we have these existing descriptions for all these games that are currently up in a decent form, because we don't have many volunteers, like I mentioned, to get all
Okay.
this spruced up.
And one of the reasons why I was mentioning Intellivision specifically is it's one of the older systems that still is an active brand under Keith Robinson. And I was just wondering if you're going to run into any kind of problems with posting ROMs for that.
I'm not entirely certain. So Jason shields pretty much all of us volunteers from all of the legal business because he's the
Okay.
only one who is officially affiliated with the Internet Archive. So I'm just a volunteer, just donating some free time to the project when I have time. So I think he would know better if we plan to launch that system or if we're not because of some legal issues.
Okay.
We're definitely planning on releasing an emulator through the JSMESS project for people to do with what they want, but I'm not sure if we'll be putting it on the Internet Archive yet.
Okay. Well, that's pretty much all the questions I had. I really appreciate you participating in this podcast interview.
Yeah, it's no problem. I'm glad to have been of assistance, I guess, and to spread the word about the project.
Yes, I was very excited to see this project. My buddy sent me the link a couple days ago, and didn't even know anything about this, and I brought it up, and it was just amazing.
Yeah, the funny thing is this project has been in the works for over 2 years. In October of 2011 is when Jason first posted a blog post saying, I want people to be able to click on a web page and just play these old games and just, have access to them really conveniently. And it took us 2 years to get this thing into a state that was worthy of spreading around the internet. And we still have a long way to go. But it's really nice to see that people have really embraced the project and are starting to look at it a bit more. Maybe we'll get some more volunteers to help us with some of the technical challenges we're facing.
I'm sure you probably will.
I hope so.
Now, if you'd like to get details on how you can volunteer for this program and help them out, go over to the Colecovisionspodcast.blogspot.com website and look at the show notes for this episode. I'll have links there of all these different places you can visit and how you can contribute to this program. Thanks for listening to the podcast.
You are the player, because your vision is our vision. The player.
Sorry. I play on Colecovision.
You are the player. You are the player.
Sorry. I play on Colecovision.
You are the player. You are the player. The player. The player.